Welcome to VMJPod's Employee Brand Series with me, David Macciocca, and co-host Grant O'Donnell. Each episode uncovers bold ideas, real stories, and practical tips from experts reshaping how organizations attract and retain top talent.
Well, welcome to the VMJPod. We are unpacking employer brand and recruitment marketing. We had a wonderful guest joining us in the episode today. I'm David Macciocca.
Yep, and I'm Grant O'Donnell, and this is Rosa Van Kuyk.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Well, we are going to unpack a really awesome thing about the employer brand space where hopefully a lot of people can relate, transitioning from being a recruiter into employer brand.
So this is the first gig in employer brand.
It is. So I have been a recruiter at AFCA for the last 4.5 years. I was fortunate enough to be given the secondment opportunity as a recruitment employer brand consultant probably 18 months ago and been loving it.
Yeah, sounds like you grabbed it with both hands. That's wonderful. What surprised you the most transitioning from being a recruiter into the employer brand space?
What surprised me the most is probably the shift in mindset. So, I've been a recruiter my whole career, started off in agency recruitment actually, and then moved into the internal world. The shift in mindset where as a recruiter, job comes in, you fill a job, it's quite, fast-paced and pressured, whereas in...
Hamster on a wheel.
Yes, it can be. Whereas in this role, I've found that you've got to really take a step back to sort of, as cliche as it sounds, slow down to speed up, just to zoom out and get that bigger picture before you're able to execute any task, because you've got to really see things from like an overview perspective, like that strategic perspective. And I actually underestimated that transition when I first took on the role. It sort of took me a few months to get my groove and sort of change that mindset.
Had you been in environments where you'd seen someone do that job before?
I hadn't. It wasn't until I got the job when I really started doing my research and expanding my network of other employer brand specialists and professionals. And I did that through listening to other podcasts, watching some YouTube videos and, connecting with those on LinkedIn as well. It was really learning on the job actually, and I'm super grateful to be given that opportunity.
You've run high-performing employee brand teams before. Mm-hmm. What would be some of the real benefits of having someone who's been a technical recruiter joining the employee brand team?
Obviously, they're used to the sales process, right? And they're used to going end to end. They speak the language of the recruiters. I think that can be a massive benefit of a recruiter coming into that space. Relationships. Yeah, hiring managers, candidates, they know what the candidates typically ask. Obviously, when you're in the employer branding side, you're often going to the recruiters going, what do the candidates want to know? What's going on? What's the market like? Everything else.
What have you found your superpower to be as someone who's a recruiter stepping into the employer brand? Where have you shined within the team?
Piggybacking off what Grant just mentioned, having that frontline knowledge and I guess understanding the challenges that recruiters face, being a recruiter myself, and speaking to the candidates and knowing what they're looking for, I think that's really helped me in the role because I sort of know what the gaps are and where to focus the recruitment marketing campaigns.
Where have been the gaps that you've noticed? What's the low-hanging fruit, do you think?
For us at AFCA, so my North Star is when I say that I work at AFCA, people know what that is. So really building that brand awareness through, I guess, authentic storytelling has been something that I've really enjoyed, and I've found that my relationships with candidates I've hired previously, I was able to build that rapport a lot quicker and understand them on a personal level to be able to help with the storytelling.
Yep. It certainly would be a benefit if everyone knew who AFCA were. But for those who don't know who AFCA are, do you mind if you just tell us a little bit about AFCA?
Yes. Great starting point. I should probably have started there. So AFCA, we are the Australian Financial Complaints Authority.
So important.
It is. And it's a free service for all consumers and small businesses to have access to an alternative dispute resolution process if you have a complaint with your financial firm.
And have you found that the employer brand team have really lent into that purpose?
Definitely. So I think everyone at AFCA really connects to AFCA's purpose. So we're a real for-purpose organisation, and with that we've found that our employees all share that, are all committed to that same mission and have, are really committed to that purpose.
It feels like, it's something you actually feel warm inside that I'm contributing to something bigger.
Absolutely. And it's that real job satisfaction I don't think I felt anywhere else. And I've been able to lean in on that as well through, storytelling and knowing that that's, I guess, can be a low-hanging fruit to sell or make it easier to sell the role at AFCA when I was recruiting, because you know that you're bringing people into a really nice place that they know that they can feel like they're contributing to making a difference.
Yep. So I don't know the answers. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Before you jumped into the employer brand space, were you pining to tell stories yourself as a recruiter because you were on the front line and you were having those conversations? And I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're like, wow, this person has a wonderful story. People need to know about this.
Yes, definitely. Because I've been able to build such close rapport with those I hire. We do, I'll do a first day coffee with them once they've started, and then another 4-week catch up as well, just to see how they're going. So it's totally different to agency recruitment where, you sort of make the placement and you don't see the candidates again, where it's really nice.
Do they see you coming? Do they know that you're going to ask them for something in the future?
I don't think so. They hear me coming with my loud footsteps in the office and my camera in my hand.
Hi, I'm employee brand.
But I think your point there, it sounds like you're naturally doing that, right? Because you've been the recruiter. Being a good recruiter, you understand what they want, you make them feel welcome, then you're continuing that on. That's a natural, most employer branding people would love that to happen, because then we know, okay, they've continued the relationship on, they've enhanced the employee experience, and now you were naturally doing that, and now you're, I guess, able to amplify that.
Yes, I guess so. I think, you've articulated it well, and I think that was my superpower, I guess, coming into the employer brand role from being a recruiter, because I had those relationships and I knew everyone's different stories and how it connected to AFCA's values and purposes.
I can imagine hiring someone from the talent team within the company is a huge advantage, because one of the things that an employer brand person but often does, is tell stories. And there's this, I suppose, trust that's been built that you've found someone a role and you've taken them through the process. So if you've been with the company, how long have you been with AFCA? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been nearly 4.5 years.
4.5 years. So 3 years ago, you would have made a ton of placements, and then you can call on those people and ask them some really neat questions as well. I'm assuming. Have you? Can you see the benefit in? Is that one of the things that is beneficial from transitioning from TA into employer branding?
Yeah, definitely, and even seeing our employees progress throughout their, the different roles, receiving promotions, you just get it really gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling and makes your job worthwhile.
That's a story. No, because it really is. Like
huge.
within big companies, like let's how many people work at AFCA?
I think about 1,500 across Melbourne and Sydney.
1,500. There's a decent size. Like the people are getting promoted, right? Like every quarter, every month, people are getting promoted, and how they're getting a promotion is pretty unique. They've all got different stories, where they've got a supportive manager, or they've gone to school to do some sort of course outside of hours, or they've increased their hours and now they can take on more capacity. I reckon they're really powerful and impacting internal mobility, I'd assume.
I think it's a big story. I mean, often when you're joining an organization, you're not just going, okay, yes, this is the immediate offer, right? That's your role you're stepping into, and you want to make sure everything lines up and you're happy to join the organization. But you're also thinking, well, what else am I going to be able to do within that? Are they big enough to have a structure that I can maybe move up, or there's different departments that I can explore? And I guess, you're starting to see that firsthand.
Yeah, and, having experienced it myself personally as well. But no, we do. AFCA, we're really good at it, I guess, recognising talent internally, nurturing the talent and, promoting from within. I think the stats for last quarter was about 33% of all our hires were internal placements.
Wow.
So just goes to show, how much of an emphasis we have.
Is that high, Grant? 3%?
I think that's good. I've seen other ones which are super low.
Yeah.
Where it's a challenge for organizations where it's just like 5-10%, nothing's really happening. People can't even find the internal job board. So they literally will go to a Seek or a LinkedIn to find jobs and then apply for their own company internally and go through the external process when they should just be going into their normal system. But this does happen in organizations, and I raise this with a lot of organizations I've worked in, or just had conversations, because your natural thought is, I'm not enjoying my experience here. So is that symptomatic of the whole organization, or am I going to go, hey, let me get my phone out, I'm going to jump on and see what jobs are available, when you could just go, maybe I could just move teams. It's not just limited to here.
Well, you're proof of that, because you've moved internally from one role to another. So tell us a little bit about that experience. I don't know. I'm thinking 33% is pretty high. Like internal mobility. Imagine
it's good.
Imagine 30% are walking out the door, and the pressure that would put on talent acquisition to replace that talent. Wow,
that's so true.
Well, I mean, from the other side, and maybe this speaks to like the recruiters as well. And what was that process of how there's other recruiters in the team? I don't know. What was the process of how Rosa, moved into this role? Was it because you're like, you know what, I think we need this in this organization? Was it a chat with the leader? Was it maybe some, potential that was seen in you and they were like, hey, would you be interested in this? How did it all come about?
Just to touch on the the number of internal placements, I think it's definitely important from an employer brand's perspective to consider internals as well as externals. We always, when we think employer brand, we tend to think, okay, what can we do to attract people in the external market, to attract more people into AFCA, for example, whereas it's just as important to retain the current employees that we've got, and, to make sure that they feel valued as well. So how I was presented, or how I started the role in employer brand, I think I've always had a bit of a creative flair that I've tried to bring into my day-to-day work where I could, and that might be in the form of content creation. It might have been in the form of formatting, being the go-to person to format PowerPoint presentations. I've always sort of had that creative edge, I think. So my leader, Matt, who is incredible, I think he may have seen that potential and thought that this opportunity would just to piggyback on the skills that I've got to channel it into employer brand.
They're all headhunting each other. That's what they're doing. They're all recruiters internally. The hiring manager's going, there's some talent over there.
Yeah, it does happen. And I think maybe, even if recruiters don't have those aspirations to go into it, I think you making that transition, you can see how you can amplify your work by more recruiters being more creative, by creating content, right? So, maybe, I don't know, is that something that you're considering in your role of how you make more recruiters more creative and how they go about doing their job to amplify?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it's part of my role now, taking the recruiters on that journey as well. Acknowledging that it is hard to have to keep space when, you've got such a busy recruitment desk, to be able to step away and sort of pause and think, reflect, and then create content, because it does take time. Creating the content calendar was, one of the focus areas that I sort of underestimated the time it would take to build a content calendar that is sustainable to manage and is built around sort of like a strategy and framework that, yes, I'm just trying to say it takes a lot of time to build content, create content, shoot it and post it.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be a burden. But I'm assuming you want to activate the hiring managers to be your talent scouts, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So we really see great workflows when employer brand empower hiring managers to go, who are your advocates? Who are the ones that have received a promotion or have done something amazing or impacted the team, or, we've shown flexibility in the workforce and what that's meant to them. I suppose it's all got to tie back to the strategy, whatever the pillars are, to reinforce that. But I can assume it's actually a really good point. Like you want a content calendar because you want to be consistent. We spoke about consistency with Megan.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to be a burden.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, you've obviously, as you said, like you stepped into this role and now to understand, okay, how am I going to plan for this strategically? It's not just, a requisition has come in, how am I managing this requisition? Mm-hmm. Now you're going, okay, it's not just my desk.
Yeah.
What was that sort of moment of like the zoom out and I've got to have that, like helicopter view, or how was that to sort of take everything in and go, okay, how am I going to approach this?
Yeah, it was challenging at the start. It's definitely expanded me since. And, looking back on my journey, I can see the difference from, the start of when I took on the role, and I was probably a little bit like deer in headlights. I'm like, oh my goodness, where do I even start? There's so much to do. I don't have enough time in the day. And then and then through that, working through the process and how I can systemize things to allow me to, to juggle and wear so many different hats. And yeah, like you mentioned, trying to get the hiring managers involved and recruiters involved, so, content's not just coming from myself as well. That was something else that I found really powerful, to get the buy-in as well from the business, because employer brand, it doesn't just take one person or a team. It does take the collaboration from your hiring managers, from your employees, from your stakeholders.
This episode is brought to you by Video My Job, introducing the fastest way to turn employee stories into multi-channel content. One video now instantly becomes branded blogs, quote cards, social posts, and more, all perfectly formatted for the channels you use to attract and engage talent. And the best part, zero editing required. Record once, repurpose everywhere. Book your demo at videomyjob.com and experience the new era of employee content creation.
I'd like to understand the benefits of having a supportive line manager, like a Matt. Matt's a good guy. Shout out to Matt if he's listening. I'm sure he is. What was the benefit of having someone who probably didn't put too much pressure on you, explained what his goals were and what the vision was to consider coming across? What are the benefits of having a supportive manager?
So many. But I guess having someone who is your cheerleader and really giving you the space and confidence to be able to do your job.
And how did Matt do that?
He was always super encouraging and I think something that he taught me as well was everything doesn't have to be 100% perfect. That was something that I had to work through and, something that Matt helped me through.
Be a bit scrappy.
Sort of, yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. But
I don't know about scrappy.
no, but like get it done. Like,
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It does need to be executed.
Exactly. Because you can easily get, overwhelmed by perfection and just caught up in, perfecting things when you could have got 5 things out by then.
Yeah, and to your point before with not making your content plan unwieldy, right? So you could polish it to the nth degree and you're like, as Dave said, you could have just had 5 pieces already done within that period of time because you just didn't have to tinker around the edges on that sort of part. And I guess, as sort of marketers, do you see yourself as a marketer now?
Recruitment marketing, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you've made this official transition. You got to go. I'm not a recruiter anymore. Maybe you're a recruiter at heart, and maybe that's part of your.
I'll never let go
toolkit.
of my recruitment.
No, I don't think I can either.
Hook, line, and sinker for me. First love that I'll never
identity.
let get over.
The one that got away.
The recruiter badge of honor. It sounds like.
It
Okay.
definitely is.
Yes, we wear it proud.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for anyone who's considering moving from a talent acquisition person into marketing? They're pining to get their hands on the employer brand.
Definitely try to include some of those. So by practicing it, I guess, in your current day-to-day jobs and including it in your toolkit already, I guess that shows that, 1, you've got the knack for it, 2, you're capable, and 3, you're willing to put in the time and effort to learn if it's a skill that you haven't done before.
I wanted to jump backwards for a sec.
You can jump sideways if you like.
Well,
it's going to be hard to jump in the chair.
Because I feel like this is I feel like this is something that happens in organizations. So we've talked about the hiring managers, right? Is this something you're approaching hiring managers to do and become, advocates? Or have you already come across people that are just naturally doing it? You're just helping them do it and have more, I guess, aligned messages.
So we are piloting a new advocacy program.
Okay.
Ooh, I love that.
Due to launch next week, and we're calling our advocates AFCA-nites.
That's a cool name.
Catchy.
Yes.
I like it.
So when we were preparing, the strategy for AFCA-nites, we did have to consider who would take part in the pilot program. So we thought it'd make sense to start off with the business units we do the most recruitment activity for as our pilot, and the process of selecting who would be our advocates in the pilot program did involve a little bit of LinkedIn stalking in true recruiter style, just to see who's already sort of quite active and got some good, quite active, engaged through LinkedIn and their networks.
So the hypothesis is that if they are active, they're more likely to participate as an advocate.
Yeah. We just want to, rather than forcing it upon someone who is just not interested.
Yep.
We thought we'd, go where the energy is and try to elevate their skills who are already doing it.
And what's the pitch? What's in it for them?
Good one. It's a good question. So the pitch is, when we launched our AFCA's first ever employer brand, Fairness Feels Good, there were 20 participants in as part of that launch, and 40% of them have all received promotions.
Whoa, that's 7% higher than the average norm.
I'll take that.
So I guess that was an easy sell when I was pitching to our employees to become an AFCA-nite.
That is so good that you've got a metric attached to a project.
That's
so
huge.
good.
Yeah.
I do like your, it's essentially, because I think that's the barrier in a lot of organizations. You're like, oh, I need someone in this area. half the battle is convincing people to have that behavior, but you've
Yes.
obviously gone, okay, they got the behavior,
Yeah.
they're already doing, they're active.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can I, maybe sort of guide that to support the messaging or
Yeah.
support around it? Because so many areas you kind of go in there and you're like, can you just post the LinkedIn?
It's a bit
I'll teach
reactive,
you-
isn't
yeah,
it?
I'll teach you how to do it.
And you'd have more
Yeah.
control by having an ambassador program as well. Like, I'm assuming ethnicity, age, gender, you've got a bit more control when you're handpicking people to reflect the culture of the company, which I'm assuming is one of the things in consideration when building an ambassador program.
Absolutely. We want our advocates to truly reflect the AFCA workforce. And again, going back to my recruiter time, recruiter life, I've built the rapport and I know the different people that I think might work in the advocacy program and, who have that natural ability to, present and have that style already inbuilt in them.
Mm-hmm.
It did take some convincing though. I think trying to get people over that barrier of being on screen, increasing visibility, and even the work that we do at AFCA dealing with complaints. It's understandable that sometimes our employees don't always want to be so public with their profile.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. I'm sure in their personal life they wouldn't mind being public amongst family and friends, but it is a little bit different and it is a conversation that you probably do need to have and just to check in, hey, you've been selected to be part of this ambassador program. Can we have a chat? I'm assuming though it's a nice thought to have or to be asked. What are your thoughts on how to go about it?
Yeah, I would think that'd be, for some people would be potentially flattering, or maybe they're like, oh, me? Are you sure?
They're the ones you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And are they the sort of content, are you asking them to produce the content themselves, like selfie sort of style, their own organic written pieces, or are you kind of saying, here's a guide of, can you talk about A, B, C, which aligns back to, I guess, your employer brand strategy, how you sort of shaping and guiding your advocates or your ambassadors, I should say.
We're calling them advocates.
Okay.
AFCA-nites.
AFCA-nites.
If they're anointed.
If they're anointed.
With a sword.
Yes.
Advocates. So we really want to give them free rein to be authentic, because as you know, in storytelling, authenticity really cuts through. In our research, I guess, we found content lands better that come from employees or user-generated content as opposed to your more produced, polished content, which is how...
I agree, by the way.
Yeah, which is why we sort of came up with the AFCA-nites advocacy program to lean in on our employee voice to amplify the message.
Yeah. And there's different forms of content these days. It doesn't have to just, like we obviously advocate for video, but it could be blog, voice assets, quote cards, and for people who don't want to get in video, maybe they can contribute to the ambassador program in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So we brought in some external consultants to run a training session for our advocates. So
Set the rules up.
yeah, just give them some ideas, some frameworks, guidelines, some, to-dos, what not to-dos type of things, some, stats and data and when the best time is to post throughout the day, things like that.
So are they signing up to post their own content? They have to post their own content?
Yes, it's encouraged that they are posting their own content themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's important, I think.
Oh, it's coming out on their channels. Is that then something that you look to amplify as AFCA, or take that and maybe add it to the website, or is it more they're an organic, I guess, sort of amplifier of the messages in the market?
So if you think about when, you will, and I spoke to a new starter who we've actually invited to be part of the AFCA-nites program recently. As a new starter, she did some research on AFCA, as you do. And we really want to be clear in the messaging of who we are, the work that we do, because it's not easy work, as meaningful as it is. You're dealing with complaints most of your day as a job. So it's not for everyone. So we do want to be clear in our messaging so people can self-select out if it's not for them. Which is why I think the 360 view of, say a day in the life type content or like the POVs type content, I think work quite well. And all our AFCA-nites have different networks and different content that people gravitate to.
She's a recruiter. Birds of a feather flock together. There you go. Get your content out. Your friend in your network. They could be working at AFCA.
Who do you know?
Do you... I feel like I could talk for a long time. I'm going to go in a direction. I don't know if this will land. But is there a referral program at AFCA?
No, although referrals are one of the highest sourcing channels at AFCA because, family and friends, I guess our advocates or our employees that don't even have to be advocates are organically advocating to work at AFCA.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
It's the best place to work. No, really. I guess, job satisfaction, contributing to making a difference, our culture, they're some of the things that stand out. And it comes from the top. Our CEO, David Locke, is so well respected.
Yep. I reckon it's a superpower having a talent acquisition person, particularly one who's been within the business, to join the employee brand team. That's what I think, in summary. In summary, every employee brand team should have at least one.
Should hire their recruiters.
It's been wonderful talking to you, Rosa. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely being here.